Okay, I'm going to show you how to separate these kitty ears. These are Star Bloom kitty ears. Star Fluke and Star Bloom here, and these are kitty ears, and they are in one object. And here's how we separate them, because it's just one item. If I hit G there, and I right click to snap it back, that's perfect, but we need them separated so that we can just use them with the kitty in the bag tutorial that someone made so cute. We're going to do it, and I was just showing for those of you who are on a Mac Neo who have not a whole lot of RAM. We're going to be doing tips and tricks on how to make lower poly items, lower based stuff, so that we can work in Blender in the new Mac Neo. Okay, so how do we let's add a material to the box real quick, because I can barely stand it. So I went to the right side here and I clicked, well, I probably did that too fast for you. So I'll undo that. So come over here to the properties box, and then we can just hit add a new material. And then we can scroll down here and make it a nice color. Let's just make it blue. We'll just scale on this and then move this little dot up. Let's just make it a little bit of a, maybe blue? Maybe it should be brown or black or gray. Oh, I can't decide. Or pink. Let's just make it pink, because you know what? Can never go wrong with pink, ever. Because that's what color the kitty ears are anyway. But okay, there's my color, pink. Okay, so you make your box whatever color you want. Okay, so, and then you can also come and get these kitty ears if you want. You can go to my Gumroad store, and I'll post a link to that under the video. And so we want to separate them. So select the kitty ears. They already have a material on them over here, and hit tab to go into edit mode. Now I'm going to see if I can select them by doing that. It's not going to work. So let's hover our mouse over the object and hit L, and see how it's selecting all this. And I'm pretty sure all of these are piled on top, so if I select them over here, they're going to select the other ear. So we can always hover your mouse over everything and start clicking on the L key. Get all this stuff selected. There we go. And then check, then hit the G key, grab it, move it around. Okay, yeah, we got it all. Okay, now with the ear select, I'm going to right click to snap that back into place. So now what we want to do is, it's really simple. We just want to, whoops, how'd I do that? Whoops. I clicked the tab on the top. Let's see where we're at. I always do that and then I forget. There we are. We were in that UV editing tab, I guess. Okay. So, what we want to do and to do it is the keyboard shortcut. Whoops. My camera is in the way here. And I'm trying to move my thing down. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to slide it down a little bit, and I'll go back to UV edit mode. Okay, there. It's okay to make mistakes. And then now what we want to do is we want to right click and we hit separate. So I think there's the keyboard shortcut is P. Separate selection. And then it will be up here in, I think, faces. Somewhere where there's the real place and not the shortcut. And maybe mesh. Yes, separate, P. So it's good to know where it's at. All these keyboard hot shortcut blender users drive me crazy. So there, mesh, separate P. So you can separate by the different things, but we're going to do it by selection. So click P. And now, if we look over here, my ears were duplicated. See, there's the original file, and it separated, and it named it the same. So we can double click on this, and we can say ears left, something here, ears L. And then we can, so cool. And then this one we can ears right. Okay, and that's it. That was the big way of doing it. Now we can go back out. We can tab back to edit mode. And now we can select our ears. And what we're going to have to do though is look, the vertex is in the wrong place. So we just need to move that simply. And we can do that very quickly. We could just go to the options right here in object mode and click origins on and get on the move tool and slide it over. Slide it down. I'm going to put it down there. You can kind of see where I'll select the head and hide it for a second. Hit the H key to hide. Click back on that left ear, and there's the origin point. Was I calling it a vertex? I meant to say origin point. And then the rotate tool, and I'm going to click on the green so you can see the line going up. Okay, so now I've got my my origin point in the right spot. Okay, so yeah, I like that. That's fine. And this is important for animating. So there you have it. I've moved it that easily. So I'm gonna tab back out. Or actually I tabbed into edit mode. What I meant to do was just select the right ear. And again, my origin is over there. And I can actually say object, set origin, and then origin to center of mass surface or volume, whatever. The volume I think is in the center there. Oh, that's interesting. It's a little crooked. Okay, so we still have the transform origins on, and I'm going to turn my axis, my X, Y, and Z, so it's pointing up a bit, so it's straight like this. And go to front mode and take a look at that. And I'll get on the move tool, yeah, and then there it is, and I'm going to bring it down. There, move it over kind of down there. Don't know if I moved the other one down that far. Yeah, I did. Okay. So it's really simple to, whoops. And yeah. So my origin point is kind of over to the right a little bit. That's fine. So I can move it around. So yeah, you just learned that. That is so cool. And then you can rotate it too. And you can see with the axes. Local. It's on the local. So let's turn the transform origins off. Let's turn that off. Okay. And now we can control save this file. And I'll pop my window back out. And then now if we select the ear, now we can move it around and they're separated. We can move them. And let's Alt H to unhide that. And now we can move the ear and we can animate the ears. So we can click R on the keyboard and kind of, I've noticed if you just pull your mouse out a little bit further, you'll get smoother increments. Sometimes if you're close, it jumps around. See that? But if you pull your mouse after you've hit R out, it'll do that. So you can hit R, rotate, X, rotate, and pull. If you want it to go slower, because we're going to be animating our ears, right? And we might want it to go a little smoother. And so I don't know how you want your kitty ears to be, but we can play with them all day long. They're so cute. Cute, cute, cute. Meow. Okay, and then also if you want, you can hit S and you can scale them down. If you think they're too big and you want them smaller, or you want them bigger, or you want them taller, hit this, scale this, one on the side. But you can always just animate them the way you want them. All right, so that's the kitty, and then we're doing the cute kitty ear in the bag. And let's remember something that we just took that guy's course, but a really cool thing to remember with editing the head is let's select this head and hit tab to go into edit mode. And then let's alt click. Let's get on the lines. And let's come down here. And I just selected the line on that end. And I think we can shift select it on this end. There, now they're both selected. And I do have the X-ray on. And we can edit that how we see the X-ray here. And I think, where is it? Overlays? Yeah. So we can play with the opacity on the right here, I think. Yeah. No? Somewhere around here. Okay. So you can see how much X-ray we have. I think it works better in this mode, the solid mode. And then you can play around with your opacity, is it? Somewhere around here. Okay, I've lost it. Back to this mode. Okay, so just Alt Z to get out of the X-ray mode. And then we still have, can you see, we still have those selected. And let's turn on proportional editing up here at the top, and it looks like a kind of a dartboard. And now let's click where we're at. Let's turn it down lower with this little dot. Okay, let's see how that does. Okay, so with that, now let's hit S, and it's gonna scale that a little bit. And you can play with this is a good thing to do, is let's turn it down. Let's turn it all the way down. Let's see. Oh, now it's really low. But you can play with it and set it, and then I think come down here to your little box down below, and then see where it says proportional size. You can drag it, and it's on smooth. Interesting. Yeah. Switch it to sphere, and I think you can, let's see, connected. Let's mirror proportional. Okay, so I don't know why it wasn't doing a whole lot. I must have been. So I right clicked and reset to value, and then I played with this. So you can play with these here if you wanted to change the shape of your head. And then just, I guess, play with this a little bit, making the numbers a little bit lower or higher. Because that box comes on once you come up here, and then you can click off. So you can play with the proportional editing. It's kind of fun and tricky. And like I said, if you wanted to shift select to and alt click to loop select an area, then you can play with the proportional editing and have so much fun. You can do linear object. Let's see. Inverse to sphere. Let's see what that does. Let's turn it up. And then, yeah. So you gotta kind of oh, there we go. So just takes a little bit and you can see how much it's changing, you know? So you could change the shape here and then you could say like, okay, and then you could alt click and then scale it, or just alt click it and then turn the proportional editing back off, and then you got a different shape a little bit or whatever. And then you can also just tab into, I think, back into your object mode and right click shade smooth, and that's going to give you a smoother look. And then you can move your ears around. There we go. And that would be so fun to do the kitty. Okay. So, and then one more option you have now on the Mac Neo, you got to be really careful to keep your poly and your vertice count kind of low. The ears have a lot of vertices in them, but I think if you do want to add more geometry to your shape, you can select the object, come over here to modifiers, and then add, generate. Now it was there. Just click search for subdivision surface modifier. Now you have, it's automatically going to be on 1, which is enough. So if you click off optimal display, you can see just how many you have. And then you can play with this, and you can also turn it on and off right here. Turn it off. And don't go over, I never go over 3. And if on a Mac, I would stay at 1 or 2, and I'd be really careful with that, turning it off and on. And now when you're in the subdivision modifier, you can also now go into sculpt mode. So you don't have to use the retopology to add all the geometry. This keeps your geometry smoother anyway. So now you can start playing with your sculpt brushes and hit F to scale up and down. And then you can play with your brushes, see what they do. You're going to get the biggest brush that's used I use is like the grab tool, the smooth tool, and some of these others aren't going to really work that great. Some of them do work though. And that's why people use the retopology to do carving and stuff like that, which we don't really need a lot of that with game design, and there's a lot of work and complexity that goes into that. So you can remember to come up here and turn on the X. And now it's going to, let's see, why is it not? Okay, so the X is working this way, so then maybe the Y, and now I don't know why it's not working on the left side. Oh, there we go. I wonder what it is. Okay, you can go crazy in here, but okay, so it looks like the Z was, I must be the way I have my the way I did this. So then you can come in here and you can play with this and see what the X, Y, and the Z does, which way they go. And it will grab it. I'm not sure why my little white dot is not showing. Or there's usually a yellow dot that pops up. And then you can come in here and play with this to your heart's content. And then scale up. Oh, look. Now the dot is showing. I had an X and now the dot's showing. There. Anyway, have fun. Okay, this is like the beginning. So, like I said though, just a reminder, keep this down. Because you can turn it on, turn it all the way off. See, you can still use it. Oh look, my dots. And you can click undo to undo that. Then remember to save your file. I always forget. And you can paint. And then if you turn your strength down, you can start modeling like this. So you can definitely come in here, like I was saying, and play around with your sculpting. And it's fun. It's interesting. It is different than I use it a little bit, not a ton. I'm not a pro here at sculpting. Yeah. So, but you can play with it. This is how I use it. It's just like Blender Mania Alex says. We all went crazy when we started sculpting and all that. And so yay. So meow, and then I could go back out here to object mode, and then I could scale it up, and I could change it like this. So there's lots of fun ways to do the kitty. Having so much fun, and then I can also edit my ears. And then also you have to remember when you do get to a place where you're happy, you have to remember to right click and is it right click? What is it? It's object apply and it's Control A, so it's not right click. And you have to apply rotation and scale. And that will show up here in your scale and your rotation. And if you before you set it and you want to get back, but before you start animating or putting bones in, you have to do the apply scale. So, but at this point we can make some edits and then we can select this, drag down and just hit 1, I believe. 1. That's going to be the way, that's the original size that it was. And so this is also, I think, 0 on the rotation. And that's going to bring it back. We can click the other ear, scale 1 and 0. Now, if we do the location, it's going to, well, let's just show you. Let's go to 1 or 0. And it's going to 0 out the location and put it down here. So I'll edit and do that. So we can, that's why we kind of leave the location. We just Control A, apply rotation and scale. So that's something to get in the habit of doing. So once you're happy with your ears, that's great. And then you can add the Alt A. And the same with the bag and any other object. And you can apply the scale and rotation. And I was going to show one more thing. I guess I might as well show it since this video is already getting so long. But if we did jump back onto this bag where we did the selection subdivision, and let's get on the select circle tool. So edit mode, select, edit mode, and then we were subdividing faces like this. I'll just select one, and we were subdividing like that, keeping it simple. And then that also keeps its form as far as a box goes. But there is a way to keep a form if you want with your subdivision modifier. And so let's go to object mode with the can sometimes not see whether that's selected or not. Okay, and I switched to the move tool on the left. So we can, so let's say we did add a modifier to generate subdivision surface. We can search right there. And we only have it at 1 and we take optimal off. So that's okay too. You can do that here. And you can make the bag like this. So if you wanted to have it so that I'm going to click it back down to 0 and show you how you can select the edges. Let's pull the box up a bit in object mode. Let's go to edit mode, and we'll get on the edges tool, number 2, and we could select the edges like this, and just select all the edges. And I'm just going to show you really quickly. I selected them both. I guess we can select all the ones on the top. And then we want to hit Control to if we're shift selecting all of these. Actually, whoops, all of these. And if you select one that you don't want selected, then you hit Command on the Mac Neo, shift select, and shift select, and then you just got to go around and do all these. Da, 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 paint, paint, paint with the painter pen. Okay, almost done. All right, isn't this fun? This is so fun. So we would select all of the edges like this. That one. And then down here. And we can, I think, well, that one. And I did alt click. And sometimes it's just best to go around. And it's faster. Select them all. And I think that's good. Hopefully it doesn't matter. Okay, we can look at it after we're done. Whoops. And Control Z to undo that. Let's go back to front mode. Okay. Front mode. And then it's popping. It must be my camera isn't set. Okay. Oops, we missed one there. Shift. Okay, now with all those edges, and remember we have the subdivision on. See, I'll show you. And we can see that box around the outer part. We can snug it by clicking this little triangle. And another way to remember, you can always turn it off and on by this little box here. And this is the renderer. This one here, if this is off, it won't render in the. And then you can turn the renderer up so it's higher. But okay, so there we are. We have the bag and really looks so cute. So cute, cute, cute. We can put in images here on the bag. Oh, this is so fun. This is so fun. Okay, so we've got the subdivision on. And now what we want to do is, let's try not to, we want to come up here to edges. And I have to drag my window down a bit so you can see this. And, okay, so I'm pretty sure it's right there in edges. My video camera is hiding this, and I'm not able. There we go. Got it. Good. Okay, so pull that down, and it's here in edge mode. Edge. I want to show you where it's at before I tell you what the. Actually, yes, it's actually right here. Now we can mark seams too for UV island mapping. But what we want to do is we want to go to the edge crease. Change the crease of the edges. So let's click that, and it's shifty, and see right here at the top, you can't see my mouse, but see it says crease 100. And I'm actually scrolling my mouse, and then this thing will pop open. So you can see what it did. And I don't have that edge selected there. I must not have selected it, but there it's selected. That's good enough to show you this. So you select all of those and you put this crease on it, and you drag it down and up like this. And that will set a crease so that when you do your subdivision, it'll stay. And then you need to add the edges that you want. So that's another way to make your edge, and that's a important thing, because you can make creases in any of your objects that have that have a subdivision modifier on it. So I'll turn it on. See, it stayed right where we put it. And then we might as well just mark the seams for right here. We can go ahead while we're already marked and add the seam. The seam is for when we do the UVs and we unwrap. And then we can add the others. And then if we don't want to see the yellow lines while we're working, we just come up here and scroll the mouse wheel and come to the overlays, show overlays. And then, oh no, right next to it, the little box. You can turn off the seams and the creases just so that you don't see them. And, or the sharp. What is on? Not hiding. Sharp. There we go. Okay. So they were just selected. So now you can turn them off and on to see them. See, the pink is the crease. It shows the pink purplish line. And then you turn this on. The seam is the yellow. It'll show yellow, I think. Not that yellow. There we go. It's hard to see with the pink, but if we come up here and we click this scene whirl off, we can see a little bit better, I think. You play with this all day long. Turn up the lights. And these are your studio lights. These scene lights are the lights that you add into your scene. We'll go over that more later if you want. All right, let's make a kitty in a bag and put the tail on it and animate it. So cute. Cute, cute, cute. Okay, bye for now. Bye, yay, 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 yay. Star Fluke and Star Bloom having fun making kitties.